So the US has officially invaded Venezuela, as early this morning on January 3rd, the US carried out airstrike bombings all across the capital. They kidnapped the president and his wife. In fact, Trump actually posted a picture of him in US captivity on his app Truth Social with the caption, "Nicolas Maduro on board the USS Iwo Jima." I really hope I said that right. And now the US is running the country for the time being. Mind you, we are 3 days into 2026 and we already have some bullshit going on. Now you might be wondering why the US decided to invade Venezuela, as obviously this is a very risky move that could escalate into something further, but I'll get into that later on. Well, there's quite a lot of history and also a couple factors that play into this, and I'll just go over the factors first. According to an article from The Guardian, since Trump took office for his second term, he has put Maduro squarely in his sights, pursuing a maximum pressure campaign against the Venezuelan regime. He accused Maduro of being behind destabilizing activity in the Americas, including drug trafficking and illegal immigration to the US. In July, the US announced a $50 million bounty on Maduro's head, accusing him of being one of the largest narco traffickers in the world. Trump's administration declared Venezuelan gangs such as Tren de Aragua, I hope I said that right, as terrorist organizations and began carrying out airstrikes against alleged drug traffickers in the Caribbean Sea. Soon, the US began to seize Venezuelan tanks and build up its military presence in the waters surrounding the South American country. Trump has openly flirted with the idea of regime change in Venezuela. In late November, Trump gave Maduro an ultimatum to relinquish power, offering him safe passage out of the country. Maduro refused the offer, telling supporters in Venezuela that he did not want a slave's peace, accusing the US of wanting control of his country's oil reserves. As the Trump administration ratcheted up the pressure, the government in Caracas, I most definitely butchered that, at times seemed bewildered. Maduro repeatedly said Venezuela did not want war with the US, at one point dancing in front of Venezuelan students to the lyrics "No War, Yes Peace," and mimicking Trump's double fist pumping dance move. On Thursday, 2 days before his capture, Maduro said in a televised interview he would welcome US investment in the country's oil sector. So it seems like a couple days before he knew what the invasion was actually about. But in terms of the history behind the conflict, there's a lot that goes into it, and since it's all very long, I'm just going to briefly summarize it to the best of my ability, but everything I'm paraphrasing is coming from that same article from The Guardian that I just quoted, and if you want to read it for yourselves, which I suggest you do, as it goes into great detail as the history behind this whole thing, I'll leave the link for it in the description. So basically, ever since a man named Hugo Chavez became the president of Venezuela back in 1999, relations between the US and Venezuela were deeply ruined, especially since Chavez was very vocal about how much he disapproved of the US's invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq, but also because Venezuela was very good allies with Cuba and Iran. And as time went on, relations between the two countries only got worse because Venezuela was committing a ton of human rights violations and essentially treating their citizens horribly, which the US strongly condemned, and this only got worse when Maduro came into power back in 2013, as he essentially became a full-on dictator, as according to another article by the BBC, he killed anti-government protesters, he committed a ton of human rights violations, there was massive hyperinflation in the country which led to a massive economic collapse, and despite the fact that he was defeated in an election, he still held on to the power that he had and refused to step down. So yeah, the guy was a ruthless dictator and had to go, but I don't think a US invasion and takeover essentially of the country is the way to go about it, because this invasion is insanely illegal. It is not only a violation of US law because Trump did it without Congress's approval, but it's also a direct violation of international law, as the US can't just go into another country and take it over for a little while just because they don't like the guy ruling it. Not to mention they kidnapped the guy and his wife. In fact, according to another article from The Guardian which talks about the fact that the US may very well have violated international law, the experts The Guardian spoke to agreed that the US is likely to have violated the terms of the UN Charter, which was signed in October 1945 and designed to prevent another conflict on the scale of the Second World War. A central provision of this agreement, known as Article 2.4, rules that states must refrain from using military force against other countries and must respect their sovereignty. In fact, as I'm recording this video right now, the United Nations Security Council is going to meet on Monday over the US's actions in Venezuela. We are literally witnessing imperialism in real time. Like, we aren't witnessing the day the Fire Nation attacked, which is fucking crazy to think about. Because again, this invasion is insanely illegal. Like, Trump did this without Congress's permission. And the entire point of Congress is to keep the president in check so that way he can't just do shit like this whenever he wants. So it makes me wonder, is Congress actually going to do something about this? Because he clearly violated US law. This could honestly honestly the grounds for impeachment, as you can't just go and essentially start a war with another country without Congress's approval. Not even FDR could do that after Pearl Harbor. He still had to get approval from Congress. So I do wonder if they're actually going to do something about that. If they are, great, because this is not something Trump should be able to get away with. Because if he does, it'll set a very scary precedent that the power of Congress basically means nothing anymore, and the president can just do whatever he wants without their permission. Now, as of recording this video, I haven't heard anything about Congress deciding to do something about this, but then again, the story just broke today, so that could easily change, and I honestly hope it does. Now, as for the general public's reaction to this whole situation, as this obviously is a very big story since the US has basically taken over another country for the time being, a lot of people are rejoicing and they're really happy with the fact that Maduro got captured by the US, and there's videos coming out from people all around the world dancing in the streets, driving cars, waving around the Venezuelan flag, and essentially celebrating the fact that Maduro got removed and no longer has power over the country. But I've also seen people strongly condemning the US's invasion of Venezuela, as they're saying things like this is illegal, a blatant violation of international law, Trump just can't go and do this, is Congress gonna do something about this? And the general reaction that I've been seeing is kind of a mix of the two. While people are very happy Maduro is no longer in power, they're also very critical of the US's actions. And that's essentially how I feel, because on one hand, I am very glad that Maduro got removed from power because the dude was a ruthless dictator who was turning Venezuela into a living hell. But on the other hand, I don't like the fact that the US just went in, bombed the capital, captured Maduro and his wife, and are now going to rule the country for a while, all without approval from Congress. Now, it's not just the general public that's reacting to this situation, as many countries, including their world leaders, are reacting to this and have openly given their thoughts on it. According to an article by Al Jazeera, god damn, I definitely butchered that, countries like Ecuador, Panama, and Argentina are celebrating this, with the president of Panama saying that Venezuela must be free and democratic again, but other countries such as France, the United Kingdom, Russia, and China have not only called for a de-escalation but also strongly condemned the US's actions. In fact, according to that article, the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs said, "We reaffirm our solidarity with the Venezuelan people and our support for its leadership's policy of defending the country's national interests and sovereignty," and they also said that it is extremely concerned about the capture of Maduro and his wife, adding that if such actions took place, constitute an unacceptable violation of the sovereignty of an independent state. So there's a lot of people and countries on both sides of this conflict, with some countries celebrating it, with other countries, namely Russia and China, harshly condemning it. It's honestly a scary situation, as this could quite frankly escalate into something really fucking big, as some countries, namely Venezuela's allies such as Russia and China, could easily consider this a blatant act of war, which thank God that's not happening right now, but it could escalate to that. Hopefully it won't, and that's obviously the worst possible case scenario, but we're really just gonna have to wait and see what happens. I know that today Trump gave a speech addressing the nation about the invasion, bars, and in it he said that the US is going to rule over Venezuela for now until they can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition, in his own words. He also said that they're prepared to stage a second, significantly larger attack than the first one, but since the first one was successful, they probably won't have to do another one, but they are prepared to do so if the need arises. And the last thing he said that I want to take note of is that we're gonna have the largest oil companies in the world, according to him, go in there and start fixing the broke infrastructure and basically start making money for Venezuela. So all in all, a very scary situation, as a country as big as the US invading another one is not something that should be taken lightly. But thankfully, as of right now, nothing serious is going to happen. There haven't been any other countries, as far as I know, that have said something like they're going to take serious action against the US, that they're going to retaliate, etc. So for now, we can take a sigh of relief and be thankful that nothing is happening yet. But if something does happen, I'll probably make another video talking about it. And that's going to do it for the video. Thank you for watching, and yeah, peace.